What's good, NBA fans? Welcome back to episode 7 of the Wolves Wired podcast. I'm your host, Chetan Kohli, and today I've got another guest joining me to talk about the NBA Finals between the Dallas Mavs and the Boston Celtics. And then after we do that, we're just going to take a look at the Timberwolves after they lost in the Western Conference Finals, 4-1 to the Mavs. So we're just going to take a look at what they should do during the offseason to get over the hump. And so to help me dissect things first from the finals, I got one of my boys, Aashrith, with me. So welcome, Aashrith. Thank you for taking the time coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. So I just say we get right into it. So first, I think it would be just best to talk about the finals since the first game is tomorrow on Thursday. And my question to you to start this off is, do you think that the Celtics in any way possible can do anything to defend Luka and just the Mavericks offense? Because we both know that the Celtics have two really elite guard defenders in Jrue Holiday and Derek White, something that the Wolves kind of lacked on that end. So do you think there's any possible chance that they can kind of slow him down in any way?
Well, the short answer is no,
Yeah.
but the long answer is I actually read today that the Celtics want Derek White to guard Luka, and I don't think that's the best idea. I
Yeah.
think the best chance that the Celtics have to do anything in this finals is to put as many bodies on Luka as possible. I mean, I know Luka was hurt against the Thunder,
Mm-hmm.
but the way we combated Luka was we put Dort on him for a bit, we put Case and Wallace on him for a bit, we put Dub on him for a bit. That really slowed him down and didn't allow him to progress into like the natural like let me get into my step back three, let me get into my floater game, let me get into this. And the reason I think the Wolves kind of struggle with that is like Jaden McDaniel is probably one of the three best defenders in the league, but the three best defenders in the league can't guard Luka.
Yeah.
Like he's too shifty. He plays too off pace. Like it's impossible to read him. So it's just like that. Also, along with the fact that Porzingis is coming back from a calf injury, Luka's gonna hunt that calf.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's gonna make sure that Porzingis moves. And I mean, you can tell me what you think about that. I know you have the Celtics winning the finals, but
Yeah. I know,
how
like
do you think they're gonna combat it?
I think in the beginning I thought that they would try to put Jrue Holiday on him because Jrue Holiday does kind of got like size. So that's kind of what Jaden
Mm,
McDaniels lacked when he was on Luka. Like Jaden McDaniels is really good on the
mhm.
perimeter. Like he could stay in front of you, but Luka plays in the post a lot, so he can kind of just throw you around. Which is the one thing I hate about him because like I always tell you, like Luka is probably like one of
Yeah.
my least favorite players. Like it's not just because like he hunts for fouls. It's just like when I watch him play, I'm like, someone this size at like 6'8", 200, almost
Shouldn't be doing this
240
shit.
should not be doing this, and it just looks way too easy for him.
Nah.
So like you threw one of the best perimeter defenders on the Wolves and in the league at him. He literally cooked him almost every play, making fadeaway jumpers, just getting to his spots. So like you said, yeah, there's not one person that can stop him. You kind of just have to show him different looks, and it's more about like just making him work because like you said, he's injured. Obviously, this like he's had almost a week to rest, so he's probably not to full health because he had a couple injuries, but he's getting back to where he should be. But he does like to take advantage of the mismatches. So if he does see Porzingis on a pick and roll, like he's gonna see, it's gonna be exactly what happened to
It's
Rudy. Like
over.
yeah, it's like it's over. Like everyone says, like yeah, Rudy got cooked on that play, but you put any 7-footer in that position, bro, they're gonna get cooked. Like you can't, no matter how good you are in the perimeter, when you're 7 feet and your legs are that long, you're not recovering that easily. And yeah, Porzingis is better on the perimeter than Rudy is because Rudy's not known to be a perimeter defender. He's known to be one of the best weak side defenders in the league's ever seen. So yeah, Porzingis can do a better job, but like at the same time, he's gonna drop. I think he's gonna average at least 30 points. In my
But
opinion,
can
his
Porzingis do a better job? Like,
you don't think
do
he
you really
can?
think Porzingis is doing a better? No, of course he can't, bro. Like, what? Like, I don't know. Okay, I might be. I don't want to like. I don't want to respect Luka too much. He took my
Yeah,
team out, but but it's like not only the fact that Luka can pretty much do whatever he wants, it's the fact that they have Kyrie Irving, probably one of
yeah,
like the
hmm
10 most talented guards I've ever seen, like on the other side. Who's gonna guard him? Like
exactly. Yeah,
there's a matchup mismatch wherever you look on the court. And I don't know. I think I my prediction is Mavericks in five. And
Mavericks in five.
I think
Damn, not even to six.
nah. I think I like I watched a lot of basketball, and I think like the best teams tend to get tested through their playoff runs.
Hmm.
And like it's not the Celtics' fault they didn't play anyone good,
Yeah.
but you play what? You play the Heat without Jimmy Butler. You play the
Hmm.
Cavs without Mitchell and Jarrett Allen. You played the Pacers without Tyrese, without Mathurin. You play all these players with all these teams without their best like two of their best five players gone. Like
Yeah.
they should win, and they have been winning, but you run into a juggernaut like the Mavs, who played the Thunder, who played the Timberwolves, who played the Clippers. Like they're all like significantly better teams. I don't
Hmm.
know. What
That
do
all
you
could
think?
that could also play a little upside for the Celtics at the same time because they beat those teams. I think in every series it was at least just 5 games or less. So
Hmm.
they had
Hmm.
continuous rest throughout all those. But you actually did. I kind of want to talk about this a little. Benedict Mathurin, bro. If he played during that series, I feel like that could have helped the Pacers a lot because I've been a big fan of that guy. He's like a really good player. He was doing good like before he got injured. But if they had him, like even though we're not talking about that, the Pacers could have put up a fight, especially in late game situations because they didn't have someone that could go out there and score the ball. So he could have helped. But like on the other hand, like the Celtics beat the Heat in 5 games. They beat the Cavs in 5 games. They beat the Pacers in 5 games. So or they swept the Pacers. So like they had continuous rest throughout the playoffs. So yeah, they're not battle tested. They haven't been like tested throughout the playoffs, so they haven't been playing at the intensity the Mavs have been playing. But I think the rest is a key part because like all their stars are healthy. You did this run without Porzingis, so you're not rushing him back from injury or anything. You're giving him ample time to come back, and I think he's gonna come back probably like healthy. Like I don't think he's coming back on like maybe the calf's a little sore or anything. I think he's like perfectly fine now. So that's something I think could help them. So that's another reason I got them in six. And something else I wanted to ask you. You brought up
Hmm.
Kyrie during the Wolves game. Like Luka would drop 30. Some games Kyrie would only put up 20, but the 20 points that he puts up, they're just like all of them are just such
They're the
timely.
biggest
They're
backbreaker.
Yeah, they're such timely baskets. It's like you think you have him in a jail, like you think you locked him up the whole play. The shot clock's going down 3 seconds in the fourth quarter, and then he makes like a left-handed floater over the defense player of the year. So like it's kind of insane to guard him. But like how much do you think he has to step up? Like can he still have those like kind of ineffective games where he does drop only like 20 points but becomes a playmaker, or does he have to be a lot more aggressive offensively, just getting to his shots this series?
See, I want to say a lot more aggressively, right? But I don't want to keep referencing the Thunder series. But against the Thunder, he averaged 6 points a game in the first half.
Yeah.
Like part of that might be because of Jada, but a lot of that was just because Kyrie just wouldn't take shots. Like he would just wait for the game to come to him.
Hmm.
And while I don't think he can afford to do that against like a 65 win Celtics team, I don't know. Like you said, like those 20 points that Kyrie scores, like you almost don't account for them. Like they come at like the most inopportune times.
Yeah.
Like Luka will dribble out the ball for 22 seconds, kick it to Kyrie at the last second of the corner, and he'll hit that fadeaway three. Like you know it's gonna go in.
Yeah,
Like
literally.
it's those things that like Kyrie is so good at, and he's the most experienced player in the series. Like he knows like he's been in the finals before. He came back from 3-1. Like
Hmm.
I think his value to the team, although like he's such a great offensive player, would be more so like easing up like Derek Lively and PJ Washington and like Derek Jones Jr. All the people that have had like what maybe a series for Derek Jones Jr. here and there, but like no, not really any playoff experience before. I mean, definitely not any finals experience.
Yeah.
So I think Kyrie's the second best playmaker on the team.
Hmm.
And when the Celtics inevitably have to double Luka, like that's when Kyrie's gonna go, I think.
Yeah. And then like yeah, you were saying like they could double Luka, and then you have so many different options on the team. You could just and the crazy thing is both of the players like you kind of see it with Ant too, like or the opposite side of Ant, like when he gets into those double team situations, the difference between like him and Luka or like a superstar or even LeBron at Ant's age was that like even LeBron said this one time. He was like Luka, me, and then like I think it was James Harden. He was like those three players when they're on a double team, they could pass out of the double team no matter what. Like they'll find an open man no matter what. And that's like a lot of players in the league can't do that. So when you have someone like Luka that can do that, and then that leaves Kyrie with like just a one-on-one. Kyrie's probably one of the best ISO players in the league, so
ever.
I feel like he's also gonna he's gonna get his get back against Boston. He be saying that like that doesn't really affect him right now, but I feel like that's just some good PR training. He definitely has something in the back of his mind going into that building. But yeah, and then other than Kyrie, like apart from the stars in the series, because we know that Luka's gonna play amazing. We know that Kyrie's gonna do his thing, and then hopefully Tatum steps up. Tatum has usually been he's been up and down throughout the playoffs in his career, but it is his second final, so I feel like he has the experience. The nerves won't be there as much, and then Jaylen Brown has been amazing these playoffs, so I don't really see him regressing. But apart from the stars, like the 4 stars in the series, and even apart from Porzingis, who do you think, or what do you think each team kind of needs to do? Like for example, like in my taking, I think for the Mavs, it's just the big play from their both centers because they're obviously going to have size throughout the whole series. So I think if Lively and Gafford keep up the intensity that they've been keeping up, especially during the Wolves series, that could be huge. But in your opinion, like who really has to step up for either team?
I think the Mavs are gonna win. So I'll
Okay.
talk on the Celtics.
Yeah.
I just if like I think Derek White might be the most important player in the series. Like I think what he because Missoula is really big on like letting Derek White stay. Like he's not gonna send too much help. So Derek White's gonna be on an island alone with Luca. I don't think that's a good idea, but I think that what he has to if he can find a way to limit Luca to like 28 points maybe instead of like 34 and also give you like 15 to 17 points on the other end, that's kind of the formula for the Celtics to win. Because although I feel like Tatum's been getting way too much disrespect lately.
Yeah,
As a
he has.
side note,
Yeah.
like Tatum's one of those like Tatum a good like top 5 to 6 player in the NBA. He's gonna show up. Like he's gonna do his thing. Jaylen Brown is like a really really good offensive piece and a really really good second option to have. Like he's gonna show up. It's a matter of what Derek White, Drew Holiday versus like you said, Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford,
Yeah.
and
PJ
which
Washington.
like set a role play. TJ Washington, but like those set of players, like how are they gonna like who's gonna score those like 30 to 40 extra points, right? 'Cause that's what's
Yeah.
gonna win the series.
Hmm. And then
PJ
like
Washington, man.
I was saying like PJ Washington too. Like he going on timely buckets. Going back to Kyrie, this dude makes the most timely buckets in the fourth quarter. He'll miss every single open three that he takes throughout the game, and then there's 3 minutes left in the fourth. You're down by 2. He'll make an open corner three, and you go the Mavs go up by 1. Like it's crazy. They've surrounded Luka with, in my opinion, the perfect team that they could have surrounded him. But yeah, the Celtics. I think it is also Derek White because the Celtics have 4 people that can initiate offense on their team. They have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, who are the main focal points, and then you have Drew Holiday and Derek White, who are both can play off the ball and they can also like facilitate the offense like perfectly. They don't need the ball in their hands too much, and they're both really good 3-point shooters, especially Derek White. So if he can not, especially his catch and shoot threes, if he can knock those down, because he shoots them in the game with confidence. Like when he gets the ball, like he thinks it's going in, and half the time it does go in. And so if he can do that, and then like you said, put in 15 points, and then just hold Luka to 28 around there, 28, 30 points, just not let him get like his 15 assists. Maybe try limiting his playmaking a little, which is going to be hard because he lets that come to him. But at the same time, you also kind of got to pray that Luka has a bad shooting night almost every night if you want to slow him down. Because the only game that the Wolves won where it was when Luka only had like 22 points and he was shooting the ball terribly. Like when I first saw the game, I thought it was good defense, and then I looked back, I watched the highlights, and I was like, yeah, this dude was just shooting short almost the whole night. And then he came back the next game and drained 3 logo threes in a row to start the game. So like you just got to pray that he has a bad shooting night at the same time. And then the Mavericks, everyone kind of assumed that when they did trade for Kyrie, the fall down for them would be their defense. But ever since the All-Star break, they've actually been the number 1 defense in the league, and they've been the number 1 defense throughout the postseason too. So you have the Mavericks winning. So on the Celtics side, what kind of like offense should they be running in order to kind of get away and just change up the Mavericks matchups and things like that?
The Celtics offense is like my least favorite offense I've ever watched in my life. Like it's just like the what like Steph Curry has done to the NBA like times 100. If you
Yeah,
watch the Celtics play, there's a lot of like Tatum ISO and a lot of like I'm gonna shoot the first three that comes up. And Joe
hmm
Mazzulla is like he's pretty vocal about the fact that he wants to get more threes up than anyone else, which
yeah,
makes like they have a lot of shooters. Like they have Drew Holiday. I think everyone who plays relatively high minutes for them is shooting above 40% from three in the playoffs besides Tatum.
hmm
So it's like it's working. It's working for them. But one thing the Mavs do better than most is guard the three because they can funnel everyone into those two big bodies in the middle, and like it's really hard to score on Derek Lively.
yeah,
Like there's like what like Shea and Ant are two really rare examples of like players that can like finish at the basket like better than most. But Boston, I was actually looking at stats before to see how Boston does in the paint. They're about league average in terms of field goal percentage shooting in the paint.
okay,
So if you take that into account, along with the fact that a high percentage of their offense comes from threes, I think that's where I think the Mavs really match up well. Because
yeah,
you're not going to put too much pressure on the Mavs if you just keep attacking the rim, because that's where they want you. Because what, like Luka and Kyrie are not guarding anyone. Like
yeah,
their dream is for Luka and Kyrie to be hidden on defense.
yeah.
And
Like I
if
literally
Tatum and
texted
Brown keep
I texted you one
exactly,
time. I was like, "Yo, like Luka is hurt. Like the Wolves just don't run no pick and rolls. They don't run no switches. Like he just sits in the corner guarding Janie McDaniels. Like he doesn't move. And I don't know if that's
dude,
schematically what the Mavs do. Like I'm not really sure if you can explain that.
even when he's healthy, like obviously like Jason Kidd's like dream is to play Luka on help side so he can
hmm
try to get like those cheap steals. But even when he's healthy, he's so slow. Like you can exploit that man in pick and roll so much.
Yeah,
But maybe we're missing something about like Luka's like insane help side defense. But like I don't know, like I feel like the series is going to be decided by, like we said, the role players, but also going back to the offense. I know you mentioned the defense, but what I wanted to bring up about Tatum's offense, like if he can like take smarter shots and instead of bailing like Luka and Kyrie out and taking those dumb fadeaways from the baseline or like that weird sidestep three he like started missing all of a sudden. If he can slow those down and get to the basket, then maybe the Celtics have a chance of winning the series, but
yeah.
I don't think that's gonna happen,
So do you think
unfortunately.
the Mavs are like? What games do you think in the series the Mavs are going to take? You think they're going to go in and steal like the first two games of the series, or you think like they'll tie it up at home, away, and then come back, win two in a row, and then go up 4-1 there or 3-1?
I think the Celtics get game one, the Mavs win the rest.
Oh wow, you think the
Like
Mavs
I
win
don't
four in a row?
I think the Mavs should have got four in a row against the Thunder.
Yeah.
I think it'd be something similar to that. Like I don't see Luka winning a game one. Like he won the game one against you guys, obviously, but
hmm
I don't think he gets another one. I think the Celtics are gonna come up pretty hot. But once like Luka's kind of like LeBron in the sense of like once he gets a feel for the series, like it's like it's really hard to contain his sort of vision and his sort of offense.
Like I can't imagine playing Luca for 7 games, dude. Like the like after like 2 games, he probably knows like every weakness of every player, and he'll just exploit it. Like it's crazy. Like playing someone like him or LeBron, where they just like control every aspect of the game, and you got to play them for a whole series. Like nah, that's it's too much, bro. It's like
Dude, six
crazy.
games is too much, bro.
Yeah, not
It's like,
serious.
and he was hurt for half that game too.
Yeah, well, he had it was a sprained knee, a sprained ankle. Like he like hit his face. He had like everything.
Yeah,
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 that was crazy.
to
And
agree.
then
Yeah,
the next thing that I always tell you is that if you're tied going into the fourth, or if you're going into a fourth with the Mavs and you have like a 2, 3, 4 point lead, like it's more than likely it's wraps. Like I'm pretty sure I texted you during one of the games. I think it was game 3 of the Wolves Mavs game. Like the Wolves went into the fourth quarter, they were tied 100-100. I was like, yeah, nah, it's not gonna look good because the Mavs are gonna win. So do you think the Celtics can keep up with the Mavs offensively in the clutch? Because the one thing I saw with the Wolves is they couldn't score, they couldn't match Luka and Kyrie in the clutch. Like Ant wasn't playing particularly well throughout the series. He had his good moments, and then Cat was shooting horrendously. Like everyone knows that right now. And then like
definitely.
they don't have another offensive star in their team to kind of get them a shot up. So that's kind of where they lacked offensively in the clutch. And then same thing kind of with the Thunder. Like they would have like leads going into the third quarter or going into the third, and then like the Mavs would slowly start chipping away. And then when it gets to the clutch, like Shea was keeping up with them. He was keeping them in games on making shots, but Luka and Kyrie were just too much. But do you think the Celtics have enough offensively to match them?
The good thing about the Celtics, which is like hopeful for people like you who pick them, is that the Thunder and the Wolves, sorry, like we're so hyper dependent on like their best player. Like
Mm-hmm.
anything that happened at the Thunder series would depend on whether Shea created it.
Yeah.
Anything that happened in the Wolves series depended on whether Ant created it or not. Like the Celtics, like through the playoffs, like we even saw Jaylen Brown won the conference finals MVP. Like they have two bona fide players that can get a bucket on anyone, and they have auxiliary pieces like Drew Holiday, like Derek White, like Kristaps Porzingis that is like when he's healthy, that can like you can't double off them because they're
Yeah.
gonna make the shot. That's
Mm-hmm.
the best case because like for the Wolves, right? Like if you double Ant and you hit Cat for a three, he shot 1,500 shots a day. Like he like his arms were too tired. Like he couldn't make it. So it's like it's stuff like that. Like I don't think Porzingis is out there shooting 1,500 shots a day. So he might be able to catch one or two of them.
Oh, that's so funny, bro. This dude really tell you he's shooting 300 shots a day, and then comes out
1,500
shooting
shots a day is
20. Like it
crazy.
was like bro was shooting 18% at one point before he made like three threes in a row. I was like, bro, you're crazy. Yeah,
He helped
but
you guys game four though.
he did. But at that point, bro,
Yeah.
like he came into game five and he did the same exact thing. uh, that's actually a really good segue into kind of what I want to talk about next.
Yeah.
We did kind of hit on everything for the final. So the first game is coming up tomorrow. So I think that first game is going to be really interesting to see. And if the Celtics do end up taking the first game, then maybe your Celtics win one and then Mavs go four straight. Is we'll see. But if it's a close game and
Maybe.
the Celtics do end up winning, I think I'll have a little bit more confidence, especially because I kind of feel that like okay, like they can keep up in the clutch. But if they do lose the first game, then I have a feeling that it's going to be a long road ahead. But we just got to wait and see.
Uh,
Yeah. But going
let's
into
let's
now, what were you going to say?
let's talk about these Wolves. What do you
Oh
want the
yeah,
Wolves to do in the off season?
yeah. That's a great thing. So literally, for the first question is like Cat, like what do you like? Because I know that there's an ownership battle right now with the Wolves, and I kind of want to first talk about that. Like I don't know if you know too much about who like Glenn Taylor is. Like he's basically just some. First of all, he's 83 years old. I think like he's really really old, and I've been reading a lot of things about the Wolves like off season through a lot of their like news articles, and people are saying like he's obviously like healthy-ish, but he's like has his days where he doesn't feel good and everything. So in my opinion, I think he should just do the right thing and just hang it up, like just call it. Like people don't give he did a lot of good things for the Wolves, honestly. Like he's been there when they drafted Ant, he was there when they traded for KD or KG. Like he did a lot of good things for the Wolves. This was he probably saw them succeeding this season and was like, oh, I don't want to kind of sell them. I want to keep ownership, show ownership in it. I get that, but he's kind of like an old school owner. You got to move away. You got to move away from those kind of people if you want a team to succeed. And he also never pays a luxury tax. That's another thing. And the Wolves are going into the luxury tax now. And even if A-Rod and Mark Lowry do buy the Wolves, I've also seen a lot of things of them like cutting the cap or also them not being willing to pay the luxury tax. So that goes into if you think the Wolves should just fully run it back with the same roster they have and pay the luxury tax, because you know that if you want to kind of create a dynasty or be contenders like every year, you kind of need to put the money in. That's something you have to do in the league. Or do you think the Wolves should kind of shop around, more specifically Cat, because that's what a lot of people have been talking about, especially me, because it's Cat's about to go into his 10th year in the league. He's in his prime right now. Like these are his prime years, and he's not going to get any better. He's not going to like significantly get better in the offseason. Like he's not that young where he can just expand his game. He's been in the league for so long. You kind of see what he does. So I really don't see him as the 1B to Ant. I can see him as like a full second option or a third option on a championship team. So do you think the Wolves should just fully run it back or kind of like shop their options with Cat? Or would you be more inclined to them shopping their options with Rudy instead?
Huh. I think Rudy is more important to the team than Cat is. I
Yeah.
think Rudy is kind of what makes the defense click. And
Mm-hmm.
like, I mean, for defensive player of the year speaks to itself.
Yeah.
But I think Cat might even have more value in the trade market, but I think like you can like that question could be answered by who you think Cat can even get. Like I don't know if Cat has played himself down in terms of value through the playoffs. Like I think Cat had against the Nuggets a really underrated series
He did.
where like he showed that he could actually stop Jokic, not stop Jokic, but like limit him to a point where he's like almost ineffective.
Hmm.
And I think the Mavs are just like a bad matchup. Like putting him out in the perimeter. Like, I need a rough shooting like series for him. But I think Cat at his best can be a really good player for the Wolves, but I almost think you guys need like a wing scorer and also like a lead guard. I think Ant needs someone to make the decisions for him, at least at this stage in his career, until he like ages and like gets to a point where like he can like be like the lead ball handler. So
Hmm.
I was thinking, I mean, you've hated this idea from when I brought it up, but like
Yeah.
I think a player with like the prototype of like Darius Garland would genuinely like make the most sense in terms of someone who can score and handle the ball and like pass the ball like he can. He's too expensive, but
Yeah, he is.
I
How much
think
is
if
he
you
making?
can trade, I think 5 years, 180, I think was his
He's
contract when he signed it.
oh, God, that's crazy.
Yeah, he's getting a lot of money. But I mean, it's not like Cat's cheap, right? Like Cat's
Yeah,
making
no,
what, 50 million,
yeah,
give
like
or take?
45 million. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. So, I mean, list out some options that you think what you would want to get for Cat to trade him, because I think you're kind of on the fence, right?
Yeah, so I think that you worded it perfectly. Like when Cat is playing at his best, like he is like one of the most dominant like offensive players in the league because he could shoot the ball, he could finish at the rim, like he can do everything. And also defensively, he stepped up a lot this season. So that's something huge because everyone's been saying, "Oh, this dude can't play defense, he can't do that." But when he's at his worst, like watching him play, like you look at him and you're like, oh, this dude's a rookie, and then you're like, no, like he's been in the league for 10 years, dude. Like he just doesn't improve. Like he takes the stupidest shots with like 20 seconds left on the shot clock. So those are the moments where I'm like, all right, bro, get this dude out of here. But I think that the perfect like fit for the Wolves, in my opinion, and I did some research on this, especially with like contract wise and everything, is DeJounte Murray because Darius Garland would obviously be awesome. He's really good as a facilitator. He could play off the ball. You saw it with D-Mitch. But he's not really good. He's not good at defense at all. And I feel like the
He's
Wolves kind of
horrible.
like, yeah, he's horrible at defense. Yeah, I was trying to put it nicely, but yeah, he's pretty trash at defense. So the Wolves, like their whole like thing is to be like one of the top defensive teams. I think they kind of bought into that mindset. And Conley is he's small, but in my opinion, he's an underrated defender. Like he can stay in front of people for the most part and kind of send them to Rudy for help. But I feel like DG just off of one dribble, he's getting beat so easily. You can maybe kind of hide that in the Wolves like defensive schemes, like because they are so defensively like minded. You can hide it. You can hide his flaws. He would be really good. Like, he is also really expensive, but he's also super inconsistent. That's my problem. Because even with Ant is also like he's really inconsistent as well as a scorer. Like and you saw it through the playoffs. Like he would go for 44 one night and then he would shoot like 6 for 24 the next night. So that's obviously going to come with age. He's going to kind of figure out like what to do when he isn't seeing the ball go through the hoop. But I think DJ, if you pair him, because his contract's actually really good. It's like 5 years, 118 million, which for someone that like for DeJounte Murray, like he can score off the dribble, he can pass the ball, and in San Antonio, he was known first as a defender. Like he was also a really good perimeter defender. He's been on an all defensive team. So I feel like he would fit perfectly for the Wolves. And then my dream scenario with that would be you trade Cat to the Hawks and then you get back like a DeJounte Murray and like a DeAndre Hunter or something like that. So I don't know if Cat's value is all the way up there, but at the same time, the Hawks do have a lot of like wings. They have DeAndre Hunter. They have Jalen Johnson, who just had a really really good season. So I feel like they're gonna. I would ideally want Jalen Johnson, but I feel like just after the season he had, they're gonna kind of progress with him, and then they have the number one pick, so they'll have Alex Sarr. So if you put Cat in that lineup, like that changes it up for the Hawks because the Hawks clearly like the DJ Murray like that experiment isn't working out.
Yeah.
And my other thing with trading Cat and just trading him for like just one star and DeJounte Murray is that you kind of have to have Naz Reid come in and step into that the power forward role. I love Naz. He's amazing. I just don't think that he can come in consistently, and because I don't think he's gonna be at Cat's level right when you put him in the starting lineup. He's not gonna come in and drop 22 points a game. I think he could probably average 16 or 17 in his first year starting at power forward. But Nas is also really young. I think he's like 24, and he also needs to develop a little. So I feel like him coming off the bench, not only you kind of keep that, the Wolves are known for their bench depth throughout the season too, so you kind of keep that as well. So I think that trading Cat for a really good two-way point guard, or even just a point guard that's a really good facilitator, and then getting a power forward or like a stretch forward that can just give you 15, 17 points a game. But that's who I think the Wolves should go after. But I also have another idea. It would be Tyus Jones. But Tyus Jones is a free agent. You would have to sign him. That's not something the Wolves can do because they're in the luxury tax, so they can only sign veteran minimum players. But who would you think would be a better fit? Would you think DeJounte Murray or Tyus Jones would fit better?
I think Tyus Jones would be the dream fit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
I feel like I watched a couple Hawks games because they'd always be in some close games, so I'd
Yeah.
always end up watching them while I did my homework. But the thing with DeJounte this season was like he was a shot chucker this season. Like he
Mm-hmm.
was shooting the ball like crazy, and it led to him having some like pretty big nights. But I worry that like at end of game situations, like players like that would like that ball has to go to Ant in any
Mm-hmm.
sort of end of game situation. I worry that he wouldn't be satisfied with that kind of role, like with just giving the ball to Ant every single time. And like he's been a really bad defender on the Hawks. Like I think like that's also the Trae Young effect, like also playing
Yeah.
alongside another minus defender. And like Ant's obviously a plus side defender, so I think that would be like pretty like a good fit. But Tyus Jones, well, I think like he has the record for like like the assist to turnover ratio. Like he doesn't
Yep.
turn the ball over. He's just a solid point guard who makes high level decisions. I think if you can find a way to clear some cap and then get Tyus Jones, that's why I was thinking like if you can trade Cap for a wing scorer, cut some
Mm-hmm.
cap, and then sign Tyus Jones,
That'd be
that'd
really, yeah.
almost be like the dream scenario for any Timberwolves fan.
Yeah.
Because
What
I don't know.
what wing scorer do you think like would be like kind of like just someone that comes to mind who you think would be perfect? Like would you
Paul
as in like
George.
like PG? Yeah, PG would be really good. But the only thing with
Paul George.
I've seen some PG things as well. But the only problem with PG is he's 35. So if you're getting PG, you kind of like you're going into the sense like, oh, you got to win next season.
What do you think about Brandon Ingram?
Brandon Ingram is I wouldn't be mad with BI because he's also an all-star. Like, but dude, I watched him in the playoffs against the Thunder, bro, and he was so bad. Like
That's
he was,
different though. Like you, did you see what Dort was doing to him? Like you have to
yeah.
feel bad for him at some
But
point.
at the same time, like
Like
you put a defender like Lou Dort on him, like amazing defender, big body. But Brandon Ingram's like 6'10", bro. Like shoot over him. Like he had no space to do anything. Like I was like, yo, there's no way you were an all-star before. I was like, come on. He also didn't have Zion next to him, so if he did have Zion next to him, he would have probably done a lot better. But
mhm.
do you think Brandon Ingram going like next to so the starting lineup would be like say we don't get Tyus Jones and you get Brandon Ingram, you have Conley, and would you put Brandon Ingram and then move McDaniels to the 4 or just keep BI at the 4? Or that doesn't really matter in that sense though.
It's positionless. It's like
Yeah,
you'd start both of them obviously, and then play Gobert.
yeah, playing Gobert, but is that spacing between BI and Gobert like BI is like he's a pretty good 3-point shooter, but I still feel like Cat is at his best is probably a better shooter. But
I agree, but
yeah,
I think Bi is a little more consistent,
yeah,
and Bi gives you that off the dribble mid range game
mm-hmm.
that Cat doesn't really have.
Yeah,
A little like, and it gives the defense something to think about, because when you get the ball to Cat, like he's either taking that weird layup to the rim or he's shooting a three.
yeah.
Like
He
there's
doesn't
no
really have
like,
openings. Like
yeah.
there's yeah,
So
like
I think
no,
Bi
you
probably
go.
gives something to think about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
is I haven't really watched too much. I watched like the Pelicans more specifically this year, especially like throughout the end of the season because they were fighting for a playoff spot. But is he like a plus defender when it comes to like defense? Because he's like long. He has the tools to be a good defender. But like when you watched him play, like is he like nothing special?
Nah, no. I
That's
mean, like like Shea would hunt him. Like I think when we played him in the playoffs, like I mean Herb Jones. I personally think Herb Jones is the best perimeter defender in basketball.
Yeah.
But I think Herb Jones was giving Shea so many problems. We would search for that Brandon Ingram switch, and
Hmm.
whenever Brandon Ingram switch happened, I was like, "That's 2 points. That's two
Yeah.
points." Like it's just like, but like obviously like no one's really guarding that caliber of offensive player. But I
Hmm.
think Brandon Ingram is a bit too laterally slow to be that successful in any system.
Yeah.
But I could
And
be
then
wrong.
I feel like at the same time, like you have Cat, who's also not like an elite defender by any means. So like,
Yeah.
and I also say this to a lot of people when it comes to defense. Like defense is you have to have the lateral quickness, but it's like kind of a mindset. Like a lot of players, like on the teams that they are on, they don't have like you kind of got to buy into that mindset of being a really good defender. Like Ant was known to be like one of the I think like his rookie year and his second year in the league, like he was one of the worst defenders, like statistically speaking, in the league. And then like I think Finch literally told like him and Cat, they were like, if you want this team to succeed, like you gotta step up your defensive game. And this dude, like I feel like next year, if he takes that step defensively, he can maybe make an all defensive team. Probably not because they put only centers on the first team, so like that's kind of crazy. So like he's
His
gonna have
centers
to
and
like
Herb Jones is crazy.
yeah, like I was like okay, like you guys do you, but I guess that's that. But yeah, I think in a realistically a Brandon Ingram or like DeJounte Murray, that's my best two. But I think getting Darius Garland, like I wouldn't be mad because if the Wolves do end up moving on from Cat, I'll have mixed feelings about it. Like he's been there for so long. That's another thing that I just think that the Tim Conley, like the way he also manages teams, like I don't know if you think the same way. Like with the Nuggets like didn't have like success right away with like Jamal Murray and Jokic go like from the beginning. Like they made the playoffs like a couple years in a row. They got eliminated. They lost in the bubble to the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals, and then they kind of just ran it back and added some like bench pieces and like Bruce Brown and players like that. So I feel like ultimately the Timberwolves are probably just going to end up paying the luxury tax this season and then running it back. And if they do run it back, the only thing I hope they do is get a solid backup point guard because my biggest concern with the Wolves team right now, like if you do keep Cat, he's fine because he's a four-time All-Star still. But my biggest concern is Mike Conley. Like Mike Conley's 37 years old. Like yeah, next year he could still he could probably put up the same numbers he did this year, but the year after that, like you're gonna have no gas left in the tank. Like you're not LeBron. I'm sorry, you're not keeping up that kind of body like physically like that. So that's my biggest concern that they just have to look into finding a new point guard. I don't know if they're going to do that through the draft or whatever, but that's something that they should look into. They have the 27th
I
pick
was
this
gonna
year,
say,
so
yeah,
yeah,
maybe. I don't know who's supposed to go like that late in the first round, but
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe you guys get like a point guard to the draft and then Cat stays and you run it back.
run it back. Yeah,
And
that'd
Leonard,
be
you guys have Leonard Miller, right?
yeah. We do have a the thing is
He's
like
supposed to progress too.
he is supposed to progress. Yeah, there's also a lot of players that because there are also always random players that come in and take like a pretty big step from like not playing their first year into coming in and averaging maybe like 10 or 9 off the bench. So if they do find someone off the bench to get that production, I think they will. But the biggest decision that they have to make is if they want to keep Luka Garza or not. My boy Luka Garza, that dude is nice. Nah.
That's that's crazy. If Luca Garza sees the court, bro, you know it's a bad day.
No, bro. Remember
Yeah.
during the Mavs game, there was I saw some comment or something. I was like, when Jordan McLaughlin comes in the game, it's raps for the team. Bro checked in like the middle of the third quarter. I was like, what is I was like, nah, they gave up.
I was so shocked. I was like, who is this Darvin Ham looking ass? Like,
Yeah,
I see
bro.
Jordan McLaughlin. I think I asked you this beginning of the season. Where's the ball point guard in the Timberwolves?
Yeah,
Because I
there's no
remember
ball
when
point
you guys
guard.
played us last year.
Yeah, he usually just sits
He's
on the
kind of
bench in the
nice.
vine.
He's kind of
Dude,
funny.
he has his good moments. Another thing that's crazy is the Wolves traded for Monte Morris and they never played him. Like
Yeah, I
ever.
swear he's not that bad.
Yeah, like he was a really good backup. Like apart from like Tyus Jones and Mike Conley, like Mike Conley also has like also really high like assist to turnover ratio. Monte Morris, I think was like third or fourth in the league like throughout his career for like assist to turnover ratio. Like he's a really solid. He was solid on the Nuggets as a backup point guard, but like I don't know. I don't know if he said something to Chris Finch and Chris Finch has benched him for the year, but like that dude did not see the floor at all. It was crazy.
Yeah, I forgot you guys had him. He went from like the Nuggets to the Wizards to the Pistons to the Timberwolves. Man,
Yeah,
that's a tough road.
yeah, I know, bro. He went from
Uh,
he left before the Nuggets won the championship, went to two bottom teams, and came back, and then went to the Western Conference Finals.
yeah, and didn't see
Uh,
the floor.
yeah, that's crazy. Almost pulled a Daniel Gafford and PJ Washington, except they play like the whole game though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I hate PJ Washington, man.
draining his corner threes over and over again. But yeah, I think that was a pretty good conversation. I think that's all the time that we have today. Thank
Yeah,
you again, Aashrith, for joining me. You dropped some pretty hot takes, like your Mavericks winning in 5. It's gonna be a little crazy, but we'll see about that. I
yeah,
think
we shall see.
ultimately Boston I think got it in 6, but we'll see. And then so again, thank you for taking the time to come tonight. We talked for almost 40 minutes. That was good. And
Yeah,
stay tuned for next week's episode. I'm gonna be posting more content throughout the upcoming weeks, especially with the finals going on. And then also, I'm probably gonna post something about some draft content coming soon for the Timberwolves. So stay tuned for that. But I'm your host, Chetan Kohli, signing off.